Hello YouTube, this is Dinox Advice speaking, aka Hector Vera, and I'm here with a special guest today that we're going to be talking about the social and the social scene and the dating scene of Puerto Rican women, or Puerto Rico in general.
Just Puerto Rico in general.
Pretty much, yeah, because it could apply for men and women. Okay, so the guy talking with me right now, introduce yourself.
This is the Rise of Heroes here.
Formerly known as PrinceAuron, aka
PrinceAuron.
Or KingAuron.
Or KingAuron.
Yeah, that's fine. So, we're gonna start and talk about our thoughts on the whole dating scene in Puerto Rico in general, because in a way it's similar to America, that is if you're not like someone who's rich or who has social status and popularity, or someone who has a lot of...
If you're not good looking in the States, the problem is in the United States and Puerto Rico, whatever happens in America happens in Puerto Rico, because you have to understand that Puerto Rico was colonized is now considered American territory. Like, since it's an American territory, whatever happens in America is also happening in Puerto Rico because of the cultural influence that it has on particularly Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's true. You know that they're trying now to make Puerto Rico the 51st state of the United States, and supposedly in June they're gonna start voting on that. It's to decide whether Puerto Rico is gonna be independent, which I really doubt, by the way, or to become part of the United States officially. That's what I heard in the news and from others talking about it. So that would mean that things will be more expensive, because here, like, if you go to college and all that stuff, it's a lot cheaper compared to the States.
And my question is, do they use the American dollar?
Yes, they actually do. I still use the American dollar right now, so definitely we are pretty much supported completely by the United States of America since like the late 1800s or early 1900s.
Yes, correct.
But of course, our taxes are higher here than in the States. Why? Because we have an 11.5% tax rate here. I don't know if there is a tax rate higher in the States, because some of the highest I've seen is probably 8 to 9%, but here it's like 11 because our government is pretty much corrupted. But we are here talking about the social scene, but here it's just want to let you know how this whole thing's been going on with Puerto Rico. And socially,
the social scene and the dating scene
very similar to
Puerto Rico is very similar to that of the United States.
Very similar.
Because if you are not perceived as good looking, the reason why America and Puerto Rico, they're looking for men who are perceived as good looking. I mean, it's good for some people, but it's not for everyone. If you are considered overweight or skinny toothpick, or if you're a short guy, then you will not be looked at. You will be overlooked by many women in Puerto Rico and the United States in general.
Yeah.
Because they were taught by Hollywood that this is what you have to be attracted to. This is the undesirable. Because of the Hollywood brainwashing the younger generation to go with men who have good looks, look like, Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling,
because they're entitled
DiCaprio, George Clooney. This is because of the social conditioning. You don't hear about this so much in Eastern Europe and South America, and it's like nobody cares for a hot guy. You have to have like big muscles, six-pack abs. You got to be super lean. It's like this is an LA culture too. In America,
definitely. It's even
Puerto
stronger
Rico.
in LA and California and all that stuff. And it's like a lot of unrealistic expectation that not everyone is able to fulfill, because, well, if you get dumped by a woman so many times in your life, like, they expect you to get more confident, but sometimes your confidence goes down the drain because you get rejected, and you don't, and no matter what you do, even if you do your best, you're true to yourself, and you get healthier and all that stuff, you're not guaranteed to get a woman unless the woman is actually attracted to you in the first place and sees your confidence. But confidence doesn't work in everybody. It's the same here in Puerto Rico as well. But what I noticed, at least in Puerto Rico, that there are guys that are average looking. I've seen a lot of guys that are average looking and they get a decent looking woman. So I guess it's you have to be in the right place or right time. But at the same time, I know that there's a lot more single men that I know personally than single women, because nowadays when I see when I talk to women, most of the time, like 80 to 90% of the time, they say that they mostly have a boyfriend, or if they don't have a boyfriend, they're extremely busy. They're always making excuses not to hang out, or maybe they say, "Oh, let's see if we do it," and they never show up. They don't reply to your messages. So that's the kind of issue I have with a lot of Puerto Rican women. And for some reason, like when I talk to a Filipina or a Chinese woman, they make more time for me. They're more appreciative of how I am. They even call me handsome. Like, I don't get that from Puerto Rican women barely ever, but it's more common you get it from a Filipina or Chinese girl. And I haven't been to those countries myself.
Cutie too.
Yeah, I haven't been to this country myself, but when I actually talk to some of them online, well, I noticed that their behavior is a lot more positive, a lot more warming. You talk to them a lot easily.
And their vibrations are different. It's like when you go to Eastern Europe or South America and Southeast Asia, maybe even China.
Yeah, approach a woman and you'll be like,
they're more social.
No problem.
For
the most part, that is
what the media taught you.
For the
most
part,
they taught you to think that Russia is dangerous.
Yes,
China, they're all communistic countries. In spite of that, yes, there is still corruption in some countries too, but you can still have a better life.
Yeah, every country has their pros and cons, like I said, but it's the social condition that's really not natural, because this is a rather recent phenomenon, like Winston says. And it seems that when you try to approach anyone in general these days that you don't know, they get like pretty creeped out, they may be polite.
They're paranoid, or they think you're out to rape them, or they see you as a creep. To the point where you've been told to approach women, you do it, but guess what? The newer generation of women, 35 and under, this isn't easy. All, but the Western millennials, those who are 35 and under, if you say hi to her, it's like they get all defensive, or they just want to scream sexual harassment. And
by the way,
it's like
I want to say something real quick before you keep going. There is also chances that they could be polite, they could act polite and stuff, but when they leave and then even though she smiles at you, everything goes well, all of a sudden she talks crap about you in front of to other people without you noticing. Because I had this situation that I was in a convention one time, I was taking some pictures, I was complimenting her, I was even complimenting her feet. And it seems that she was smiling, I guess, but I wasn't so sure she was awkward and stuff. Suddenly, that girl, she called the police. Well, not the police, the security guards, and they escorted me out of the convention. I got banned because she felt awkward, but she wasn't honest about it. That's the problem with a lot of Puerto Rican women. They're not honest about how we approach them, and it's just like modest. And then all of a sudden, when I'm not around, they start being two-faced. There's a lot of two-faced women in this country where I am, and it really sucks. I'm pretty sure America's just like that too, or even worse.
Yes.
Because at least, Puerto Rican women, you could actually be able to have them talk to you a little bit sometimes once in a while. But if you notice, it's mostly average women that I actually get to have a decent conversation with. But like the most cutest women that I have met, they are kind of two-faced for the most part, or they don't reply to your message. They say that they're cool, but they don't find the time to actually hang out with you and stuff like that.
And they just make up excuses. If they only do this if they do not find you attractive. But even even attractive men in the West,
they're in competitions.
It's like there's so much competition.
And the shortage of women that are actually desirable by men, because There's a lot of in Puerto Rico. There's also a lot of obese women as well. As a matter of fact,
mean,
I
it
see
doesn't matter if
plenty.
she's obese or she's in a wheelchair,
Exactly.
or she's has a Asperger syndrome or Aspie or whatever. She can get any guy she wants.
Well, not completely, because I have met girls with disability and obese, and they don't have that much luck in getting a man either. I know some personally. And trust me that not all women have that option, but most of them may be. But I wouldn't completely agree that they all have the options though, because I know some of them don't have luck.
As long as you are a woman in the States and Puerto Rico, you can get any guy that you want.
Most of the times.
But most of the time, that's most cases.
Not always.
Almost all the time. But if you're a handsome guy. I mean, even handsome men can have a much harder time just as much as the ugly ones.
It's just because they're in competition.
Because Western women,
and they have all the choices.
There's so much competition in the West that men have to fight each other over the same girl. You see this at the bars. There's too much competition.
Way too much. And like, we men actually don't have that much choice. And sometimes you wonder, where am I going to meet these women? Where am I going to go? Because before I even discovered, like, there's better women out there in other countries, like, I always doubt the society. Like, has it always been this way? Is that how reality really is? When I see, like, women in, like, animes or different games and stuff, that they seem more down to earth. Like, is this fantasy? Is this just fantasy that girls are like that, or are there real women out there?
It's just a perception.
I always debated that. I always
it's like when you. I have this to say: they always make it seem like people are sociable in America, but like through Hollywood movies. But then when you go outside and talk to real human beings, they don't want to talk to you.
Sorry about that. My dad didn't know that we were recording.
It's okay.
Okay, so where were we?
Yes. Oh yeah. About how the social life in America and Puerto Rico, how you have this perception that it's like when you look at these Hollywood movies, they tell you, oh, Americans are all goody and social, but then when you go outside in the real world and practice the same thing you do in these movies, in these anime movies, these anime shows, nobody wants to talk to you. That's the reality.
It applies to Japan as well. Because Japan, it's a first world country. They're spoiled. They get all this material possession, and they care about those the people.
First world nations in America and the United States, Puerto Rico, Canada, and even Japan. I cannot say much about the United Kingdom. I hear United Kingdom is just as bad.
And Australia maybe too. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe not as bad as the United States, but it's kind of influenced in a way because they receive a lot of things that America do.
Yes.
But, I don't know much about that, but that's what I heard. So, you could debate on it. If you hear this and you want to tell me a little bit of facts about it, you could leave it in the comment section below. I'll listen to it. But, yeah, I could tell you an experience with Puerto Rican. With my experience with the dating scene in Puerto Rico, I only had one date in my entire life, and it only lasted a week. One girlfriend in my life, and then since she was from very far away, and it seems that her mom was kind of like a little bit suspicious with my mom. She didn't feel comfortable. I had to end the relationship. I was only 20 at the time. And then she got super angry and cursed me out because I left her, because maybe it would have been a trap. And my mom actually warned me about that. Try to be careful when you're talking to certain females and stuff like that, because they don't have the best intentions. Because it's true, a lot of girls here, not all of them, because there's some good women out there, but sadly they're really hard to find.
Or they're already married.
That they may be nice at one point.
You have a lot more single men than you do single women.
I know a lot more single men than single women here in this country as well. Trust me. I don't think it's very rare I know a single woman, and if I do, rather they're not like that desirable, or they don't want to look for anybody, or they're super mega busy, or they claim to be super mega busy and they don't have like 1 second to themselves because they're always busy with their work. Matter of fact, I know 2 women personally that has like 2 or 3 jobs, and also goes to college and studying her master's degree at the same time. Like, what kind of life is that? It's like you, maybe it's a workaholic. It's not healthy. I know, even if you work something that you love, really, but there you need to have a balance between work and study and social life and all that stuff, because otherwise, you have no life.
Karoshi means like death by overwork.
Yeah, focus too much on work
and choice, but to
they don't interact.
In the West, men are left with no other options but to watch pornography.
That's very sad. And actually, when people are workaholics,
it's a sad existence.
By the way, I was gonna say, when they become workaholics, they don't have barely any social life, and when they talk to you, it's only business related. Especially my work, that we only talk to each other whenever it's business related for the most part. I kind of like isolate myself, to be honest, because when they talk, it's like mostly superficial. It's not like an intelligent conversation. It's mostly like, hey, how are you, what you did, and all that stuff. Those a typical conversation. I'm not really into all that. I'm usually polite, but that's the problem. I like to have variety of different conversations with people, but it's hard to have it with people in this environment because, like, they're all busy with their work, or whenever you say hi, I guess I say hi, I'm doing okay. And even though you're not okay, you have to say you're doing okay, or you're doing good. Because if you say you're doing bad and stuff like that, they don't have time to really worry about you because they're worrying about their own lives. They'll give you an advice to go to the doctor, get a check or whatever, but you don't always have to go to the doctor for whatever,
it's like
cures.
Like you've been brainwashed to think that you're the problem.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and you're the only. It's if there's a problem, it's your fault. And they always want to tell you to go into that new age philosophies. You need to go see a psychologist, or you need to take some medications to cover it up.
Oh, that's that medication.
When in reality,
antidepressant.
Antidepressants. When the reality
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't change the reality.
I know a friend.
It doesn't change your environment around you.
By the way, PrinceAuron, I have a friend that takes a lot of pills, and some of them probably is antidepressant because he has low self-esteem. He can't even talk to any women because he's super overweight. But I try to help him whenever I meet up with him and we get along. But I didn't have too much knowledge with the options that you can have back then. So whenever I get back to this guy, my friend is John Paul, by the way. I'm pretty sure hopefully it will get his self-esteem a little bit up if I show him proof, because I didn't talk to him too deep about like women outside of this country, like what options he could have if he decides to travel the world, or just talk to these type of women online to start with, just like I'm doing right now.
If you talk to other foreign women
online,
I'm not saying online,
to start with,
to them. You gotta take time to get to know them.
Exactly.
I know some of you may say something about, foreign women just want you for your green card, and
oh god, a lot of people, a couple of people told me about that recently. Like, most of them are out to get a green card, and I wanted to ask your opinion on this because I told them maybe I agree that there is a good number of women that wants a green card, but usually, I'm pretty sure there's a good number of women that just wants love.
Now those are the ones who have an ulterior motive are usually the ones who come from poor families. But if you go for someone who's like middle class or someone who's wealthy, then that's not as likely to happen.
That's true, because they won't need money, and if they love you for you, that's fine.
Exactly, and most foreign women, like Ukraine, Russia, Poland, most Eastern Europeans, they don't want to leave their country because they have they have their families, they have friends, and they have their life. It's like when they go to they'll visit other countries, but the problem is, it's like it's hard to go outside the country.
Same here. Some of us are just used to being here.
It can be a challenge for them.
Exactly, especially if they have to learn a new language and all that stuff, and they have to conform to their form of living. I wouldn't recommend any foreign women to move to the States because they're going to be corrupted in their minds after a while, unless they're really, really smart and they're aware of this beforehand, which is really rare. Then, you know, you got to let, if you're going to bring a woman from a different country to your country, you need to let her be aware of what's going on over there so she don't fall into that stuff. If she's still going to be true to herself. Just be, a good advice right there.
Just be careful. All I can say is just be careful when you if you decide to bring your woman to the country. Just be careful. Just make sure you protect her. But my personal advice is, I would advise you not to bring her to your country. Just take it or leave it. You can make your own decisions.
True.
But every location has a different mentality of people. And not everyone's out to get your wallet and your green card.
Exactly.
I'm not saying they don't. Now foreign women have a different attitude. They're often more approachable. And the ones who do scam foreigners are usually the ones who come from poor families, as I mentioned.
So you gotta be aware of that. If they're super poor, just observe them well. Not all of them are like that, but there's some like that. But if they're like middle class and they love you for you, they're most likely just want to find true love because. And in the Philippines, for example, I heard, I can't say it into heart, but I heard that the dating scene over there is reversed compared to America. Like, the girls are the one having a hard time finding a decent guy. Us having a hard time finding a decent girl here.
Like the Philippines, like Southeast Asia in general, Thailand, what else, Eastern Europe, South America. You have more women than you do men. And especially in Colombia, they're looking for a good man. They don't care for someone who looks like Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, they'll take it, but it's just not something they're so concerned about.
You know,
they want someone who's a good man.
By the way, you know, talking about Colombia, which is pretty much one of the closest foreign countries from where I live, because literally right below me, and it is only like $500 round trip and stuff like that, or something like that. I have a friend from work who actually went to Colombia and has a girlfriend in Colombia. I'm really curious now about that because I'm gonna ask this guy during the week to see what is the life like, how social is, how approachable the women are over there. Because he may have an idea just because he was there already, and I saw pictures of him being there.
And as long as you know Spanish, that can actually work in your favor.
That is because I'm pretty fluent in Spanish at this time. Not as much as English because I talk English still more, but I do talk Spanish, and I could defend myself no problem. Which is something I'm just curious recently. Like, other than the Philippines and China, I'm also kind of interested in Colombia in a way. The problem is they say that Colombia is worse than Venezuela right now. I saw a news article when I was looking it up on Google. And like, are they serious? Are they really more dangerous than Venezuela? Because Venezuela, I know, is super dangerous right now. Like, there's a hunger strike and all that stuff.
Venezuela has bad poverty.
Very bad. They don't even have food in the stores anymore like they used to.
And I heard they have a food shortage.
Severely.
And it's gotten so bad that you hear about you have some people from Venezuela who end up robbing food, having to rob like food trucks full of chicken. Like, wow, it's that bad.
I'm not going to Venezuela, of course.
Forget it. Just don't go there.
Yeah, obviously. Nor do I want to go to North Korea or Syria or anything like that.
Just don't go to the dangerous parts. In Honduras, they say Honduras is very bad. When it comes to the highest crime rates, Honduras.
Yeah. I heard that Russia also has a higher crime rate as well. A pretty high crime rate. I'm not saying higher, but pretty high.
Russia is not as dangerous as the mainstream media makes it out to be.
Yeah, just because Russia's against America.
Now, I have this to say. Russia is only dangerous if you're looking for trouble. Russia is not as dangerous as like Southside Chicago.
Okay.
If you go to Chicago, Chicago has a lot more killings. It's the murder capital in America.
And Detroit.
Yeah, and Detroit. Right, it's worse than Moscow. You'll do fine as long as you just stay away from like the poor areas. You can only get into trouble if you're looking for trouble. If you do anything illegal or you want to cause trouble, then yes, then you can get into a severe. You can put yourself into trouble. Now, if it's not legal trouble, it's trouble in a sense where it costs you your life.
It could cost you your life.
Russia is not as dangerous. It's only dangerous if you're looking for trouble.
So getting back to the question about Colombia, because I saw that news article, I would have to send you a link saying that Colombia has become more dangerous than Venezuela, and I think that's bullcrap. But I don't know. What do you think about this whole thing? Because I'm gonna send you a link right now, so you could look for it for yourself real quick. But what do you think? Because it seems that the mainstream media seems to bring fear about other countries.
They just want to put fear into
so you don't visit there.
Don't go to these countries, so you don't become happy. That's the problem. The mainstream media just wants to put fear in you. This is the problem I have with mainstream media. That's why I don't watch the news, period. No matter, just what I can advise is, once you go to another country, you have to trust your instincts, your intuition, and with a conjunction of using common sense, just use your head. And if you have a support system, you'll do fine.
Exactly. By the way, we're getting off topic right now. We're kind of like talking about other countries, but yeah, it's good to talk about it. I'm probably gonna put like, extend another title along with the dating scene in Puerto Rico. But yeah, basically getting back to the topic, if you're a guy like me, that I'm 29 right now, you really don't have much options with women here in Puerto Rico, especially with your work. Almost every woman that I know in work, they're married or they have a boyfriend. No questions asked. And I went to the bars a couple of times, like 5 years ago, I guess, and they all have boyfriends as well. All the girls there, they have boyfriends, or they claim to have boyfriends, and maybe they're lying. I don't know. And then, you go to college, it's kind of like awkward to talk to women unless they get introduced and stuff. Because I tried talking to a couple of women from college before, and it seems that she smiled a little bit. At least she said something, but deep down she probably not feeling too comfortable just because I approached her, just because I was being my own genuine self. And then people criticize me for being quote unquote creepy or making her uncomfortable just because I approached her and say hi and stuff like that, telling me that I'm not supposed to approach in that way. You have to approach a different way, something super artificial, and something that I really tried to do at one point, but it never worked for me.
This is why America has the highest rate of mental illness in the world.
And you get confused.
It's gotten so bad that you have a lot of serial killings that happen. You have more school shootings, workplace shootings. It's like people just look what happened to George Sedini. He tried to approach women, and look what happened. And he got shot on so many times. This is why men end up hurting or even killing women. I'm not saying this is right. What he did was wrong, but if he knew his options about going overseas,
it's sad.
Really especially sad. Stevie Steve, the Facebook killer. Is because they have no other options.
Yeah, they go crazy, and that's what makes them desperate.
Also said that he got tired of being the butt of everyone's jokes.
By the way, this is why people are desperate. A lot of these guys are desperate because they don't have options, they don't know what to do, and they don't want to be lonely. The problem is, since this is a taboo topic, nobody wants to talk about the dating scene in other countries and stuff like that, or the dating scene right here. They don't know that they have other options elsewhere, or they should just travel and see if they get any luck over there. And if you don't have problem talking with women over there, then the problem is not with you, right? It's basically something's going on with the society that it works for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody.
It just brings up the inner good in you. So if it doesn't work for you in the States, try other countries. There's a whole world outside the United States, and the mainstream media tries to make it seem like that the U.S. is the world. Whatever happens in the U.S.
The U.S. is the world, yeah. And that everywhere is the same. Everywhere is the same, which is bullcrap, because every culture is different, and they have their own rules. They have their own reactions towards, strangers. And, they eat their own food. Yeah, they don't eat the same food. And and the economy is different everywhere else. Some are good, better than others. Some are worse than others. You can't really say that the whole world is America, or they act the same way everywhere.
America is not. And America
because
is not the representation for the whole world.
Of course not.
Because not every country is going to adapt to America's culture. America is not the center of the universe, and not every country worships America. You'd be surprised to find out that there are people from other cultures who don't like this, who don't like the states.
Yeah, like Russia.
There, they see like Americans act so arrogant. They're very narcissistic, and where I was born, I was raised in Texas, and a lot of Texans, they're assholes. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. A lot of American people, of course, this is not all of them, but it seems like a lot of them are assholes.
Yeah, and right here, well, you know, it took me a long time to actually make good friends, because when I first came to Puerto Rico, I felt so out of place. I got bullied a lot in school. Nobody wanted to help me, and then they all had their cliques, and I couldn't even blend in with most of the cliques. And then if I did, I was forced to not be myself. I would usually just isolate myself, writing some stories, doing some drawings and stuff. People will say, "Oh, okay, it looks nice," but nobody will really support me or anything like that. It's like I was in a bubble back then. It wasn't until like in the last year in high school when I started making friends and started connecting with people. But at the same time, you know, they came and go. Like all the way up to now, you know, all the people I made in college and high school and stuff like that, most of them don't even talk to me anymore because they have their wife, they have their jobs and all that stuff. And only the few really good friends stick with me, which is very little. It's really hard to make long-lasting friendships in Puerto Rico. It applies to America and Puerto Rico at the same time, because everyone's busy with their families, their work. They don't have time for you anymore. But if they're true friends, no matter how busy they are, they will make time for you. It's the same with a woman. If she really loves you, no matter how busy she is, she will make time for you. It doesn't matter. But if she doesn't make time for you whatsoever, forget it. Go somewhere else. Go to a girl that actually will appreciate you, because in the end, if you find a girl like that, even if it takes a while, yeah, your instincts.
And your instincts tell you that there's something wrong with this American culture.
I know it's my instincts tells me that, but I wasn't so sure. I thought it was all fantasy that people are getting along well in TV shows and movies, animes, and all that stuff. And then, you know, after discovering HappierAbroad and you guys telling me about it and stuff, I didn't took it to heart for a while, because like I didn't think I would ever be able to have a chance to go to another country. But now since I have this job, it gives me a little bit more confidence that, well, I really want to go now. I'm meeting all these good people, and I want to study this culture. I want to see what, you know, all about. I'm very curious right now.
See what other cultures have to offer.
And then they say, "Oh, curiosity kills the cat." That's bull.
In fact, that's a bunch of nonsense. Curiosity cures the cat, because when you know something, you feel relieved that you know something. Once you find out the truth, you feel good about it.
Even if I haven't been to
curiosity killed the cat is a bunch of nonsense. Whoever came up with that term,
yeah,
is an idiot.
It sucks. It sucks because they ingrained that on you.
Curiosity prevails.
Because maybe
a lot of cases, sometimes when you find out the truth, it's like you feel like it's a weight off your shoulders. You feel good. You go when you find out the truth.
Just be careful.
This is what's going on.
But just be careful, of course. You know where to go, where to stay away from. Do your research and stuff. And if you know the place is safe after looking at different sources, then go do it. If you have the money as well to travel, so you could see what other cultures like, in case you are someone like me looking for a woman to be with and having a really hard time for a long time. I try not to complain too much about it, because people will look down on me and they will stop being friends with me after a while, except for my closest friend, of course. But, you know, it's just that, you know, it's really hard to talk to this with people, because they're going to say that I'm desperate and I have to work on myself. I have to do this and that.
They just tell you,
and they blame
you to practice the whole law of attraction.
Law of attraction, I don't know about that.
It does not work.
I don't believe in that.
If your instincts points you to going overseas, and you go overseas yourself, you know, then go. You know, just do it for you. You don't need nobody's approval. just go. You don't need your friends' approval. You don't need your family's approval. You don't need
because
anybody's approval. If you want to go overseas, just go. That's all I can advise to you. You know, the best thing to do is just not to worry about the scammers and the horror stories. As long as you treat the foreign woman right, you will do fine. I mean, if your instincts points to you a certain girl, and if your instincts is telling you that this girl is right for you, or a certain girl is right for you, then just follow your instincts. Trust what your gut tells you. That's all I can advise to you.
Yeah,
trust your instincts. You have to trust your instincts, no matter what.
By the way, sorry if I interrupt you, but I wanted to add something to that as well. If you're a person that believes in God, like me, I go to church and all that stuff. It's always good to pray. Ask guidance, because God wants the best for you. I believe that, and wherever you go, He will be with you no matter what. That's what I believe. I don't think God is someone that will bring fear towards you, saying, "Oh, God doesn't want you to go there just because the pastor tells me that." But I wonder what you think about that.
Your pastor can be wrong too.
Anybody could be wrong. That's why you have to pray. I want God to tell me directly, like, is this safe for me? Like, for example, is it safe for me to go to North Korea? He says no. Of course, we know why. But I asked, is it safe for me to go to the Philippines, for example? And if he says, yes, just be careful. But God knows the best for everybody. That's what I think, because God knows what's going on everywhere in the entire world. They know what's best for you, what's best for me, what's best for everybody. And sometimes some Christians, they tend to misinterpret that, saying, "Oh, God doesn't want you to do this. You have to settle for this woman. God chose this woman for you."
The human beings.
And sometimes I question that, because it's not, easy to. You can't expect me to believe something that I'm not sure if that's what God really wants. If you know what I mean.
Yes, the problem with human beings is they kind of misinterpret everything. It's like, what if you want happiness? It's like,
God wants you to be happy.
You want to at least
God wants you to be happy.
You can use America, the United States, or the West to make money independently, and you can use that money to go abroad. And if you move to your woman's native country, now, like, marriages in Eastern Europe between American men who are expats and foreign women are less likely to end up in divorce, as long as the man's willing to take care of his wife and he does the same thing in return.
Exactly. That's how it should be. That's traditional.
If a man gives something, and when he receives something good in return, he feels good about it.
Exactly.
The problem is, America is very self-centered.
You have to please the women. They say you have to please the women. You have to dress nice for her. You have to do this and that. You have to take out to expensive dinner to prove that you actually care for her. Yeah, I know. I heard it.
Eastern Europe, South America, and East Asia, it's like women want to please their men. The reason why, if you go to like Eastern Europe, like Poland, Russia, Ukraine, they overfeed the men. They want to look good. They dress good because they want to please you. They'll do anything to take care of you. They're willing to take care of you. They're willing to have a family. They're more about romance, like in Eastern Europe. They care more about romance and marriage and having children. They put more value in a man than they do in a career. The Eastern European women, the reason why they have to work in careers and be more independent is because they have no other choice. A lot of Europeans are very sophisticated. They're very intelligent.
But they have no other choice.
So it's because they have no other choice, and they're very independent. They know how to take care of themselves. They know how to do the job.
So they don't need you for money.
Deal with the workplace than they are in the States. And the thing is, they work if you work with her. Like, say, if you want to own a business, you want her to work with you. She'll do it with you. That's how
pretty
loyal
good.
that they are. That's how loyal they are.
Yeah, like a lot of partners in the United States and Puerto Rico, they're not as supported, I believe, right?
They're not. They just expect the man to do all the work. They expect them to do everything. Whatever happened to splitting things 50-50? Whatever happened to teamwork?
Yeah, that's like fair.
they don't. It's like,
And they
in the
said
West,
everywhere's like that
everybody wants
because
to
the
do
world's
anything.
dying.
It's like they expect the man to do all the work. It's like, and the woman just sits on
Oh
her ass and do
yeah,
nothing.
and
That's the problem with the West.
they expect
Not
the man
only
to
is
approach.
obesity bad.
Oh, sorry.
Not only is the obesity epidemic bad, it makes women lazy in the West. The obese women are so lazy to get off their butts and actually do something.
By the way, no offense to obese women, but I don't have nothing against them, but those type of people are not the most healthiest, and this whole fat acceptance. I accept you no matter how fat you are or how skinny you are as friendship and stuff. But of course, when it comes to relationship, I want you to be healthy. And
Exactly.
sometimes they're not able to lose weight because of even if they try to exercise and stuff, they will have to get operated due to the fat. Sometimes not their fault. But at the same time,
Because the
if
side
they
effects
can do
of
it,
not only is it because of the GMO foods, it's
yeah,
in the States, it's the GMO foods,
it's
the
hard to stay
ingredients in the food
healthy.
that's very unhealthy, and it's also due to medications, prescription drugs.
I have a little problem with that right now because they've been telling me to take certain medication to cure more sickness, but then sometimes
But
it brings
it
more
actually
sickness.
creates problems.
It could, yeah. And
That's why it's not wise to take any prescriptions. It's not a good idea. And we may do a rant on fat acceptance another time. But this is not what this video is
Not right
about.
now.
This is about social connection is difficult in the United States and Puerto Rico.
And Puerto Rico.
When you go overseas, you will feel much better about yourself to the point you can recover from illnesses. There are chubby men who go to
Naturally, right?
Russia, Brazil, Philippines, and even like South America. They in other countries there are stories where men have lost weight because they recover from illness. They recover from mental illnesses a lot more when they're overseas because it's a big breath of fresh air. They have good self-esteem because they give something, but they receive in return. How can you give something to someone and not receive anything in return? It just lowers your self-esteem.
Yeah,
and this is why men in America, they cheat. That's why men are cheating on their wives in the West because they're not receiving enough love. They're not receiving enough attention. Men are told to do all the work, yet the woman can sit on her butt and do nothing. Just be lazy. And just watch TV, eat a bunch of McDonald's, just be a big slob. It's like, what the heck is wrong with you? Please, work on yourself. It's like, what are you getting out of this?
By the way,
expect men to do all this, but then when you go to Eastern Europe, South America, and Asia, and even some parts of Africa, women want to do something for you. They'll do it for you. No, it's more, how about actually bonding with the human being? I thought that's what relationships are all about. Taking time to get to know each other, working together as a team.
Exactly.
Working together,
by the
building
way,
each other up.
I want to add something too. Sorry to interrupt, but also I have noticed that the man is always expected to make the initiative towards a woman, and they're supposed to do the approaching, and women are taught to never approach men first and stuff like that, which is why women never approach me that way to get to know me better, because that's very rare that ever happens. Unless it's like, I guess work related, business related and stuff like that. So it really sucks because like you see this as fantasy. You think that this is fantasy that a girl will come to you. But like I'm curious, if I go to another country, will I actually have girls approaching me sometimes? Because that would be a good experience.
Every culture is different. Now, mind you, every culture is different. They say that
it's raining right now.
Now, in some cultures, now every culture will all vary. Sometimes it could be man initiates conversation with a woman, or sometimes vice versa. Every culture is different. So now I don't know if they'll come to you if they're really interested, but for the most part, now in some cultures, now like in Eastern Europe, a man is supposed to court a woman. It has to do the approach. And then the thing is, when you go to Europe, now the attitudes are different in Europe than it is in the States. At least in Europe, you actually feel good about it, but then when you go to the States, it's like you're on a walking landmine pretty much. If you approach a woman the wrong way in the West,
oh yeah, you make a little mistake and you're screwed.
It could cost you your life.
And your first impressions matter the most. Because if you have a bad first impression, they don't give you a chance at all. You make one little mistake, they could leave you, or worse, they could call the police on you, or they could call security because you make them feel awkward because you approached them.
Or you could go to jail and lose your freedom.
And you're screwed. If you go to jail, you're screwed.
And this is why, let me say this, this is why men in the West are going MGTOW.
I don't like MGTOW.
I don't agree with them either.
But I can understand a little bit
about it. It's in short of men going their own way. In case some of you want to know what MGTOW is. Essentially, MGTOW is basically men are sick and fed up with the American dating scene or marriage, or maybe they're going through a divorce. There are legitimate MGTOWs, like those who've been heartbroken in a relationship or marriage, so they just decide to opt out of the dating scene. They opt out of social scene and marriages. That's what you essentially need to know.
It really sucks because MGTOW, they kind of like promote not marriage.
I'm gonna say this. I respect your decision when it comes to. I just don't want anything to do with this dating scene anymore. I'm just gonna do me. Now, personally, you don't need MGTOW's approval to go overseas. If you want to go overseas, go. You don't need MGTOW's approval. That's the problem I have with MGTOW, the men going their own way movement.
They don't have that solution for you that you need to go to.
They don't offer no solutions. The only thing you can do...
And to bash women. That's all. And they say, oh, women are evil, or women are bad. I don't agree with that.
It's women's nature. They're all evil. They're like Sandman and Angry MGTOW was saying.
Oh, yeah. I see some of their videos.
I haven't seen all their videos, but from what I've seen, they're just a bunch of pessimistic.
And the problem is they're super popular compared to, like, HappierAbroad community. It's like, HappierAbroad is super underrated. And the MGTOW's, like, getting up there because, like, they're going against feminists, which I understand, but at the same time...
Yeah, I can understand it.
I'm
with you on how the court system is always favoring the woman, the law is favoring the woman, which in most cases is true. You know, I can respect and understand you don't want to be part of the dating scene in the West. I can understand. And I'm with you on that. However, when it comes to, like, personal life decisions, if I want to go overseas,
you can do it.
I will do it. And you cannot talk me out of it. No matter what you say, I will never listen. I'm just going to go abroad for me. How do you know this? I mean, you've been stuck in the West for so long, you think all women are evil.
Exactly, that's the problem. By the way, I want to ask...
That's the problem with MGTOW.
Yeah, by the way, I want to ask you something. When do you plan to go to a foreign country, by the way, you and Kyle? Because I'm curious. I'm already having some plans for next year, but I don't know where will be the first place to go yet, if it's China or Philippines or Colombia.
Yeah, so I'm just more like weighing options. My personal preference is women from like Europe. I've always loved white women. I grew up loving white girls.
So you're gonna go there first, right?
Like say like Eastern Europe. I might visit Ukraine. I'm gonna visit Ukraine, see what it's like. Russia. And also visit the Philippines. See what it's like.
Yeah, Eastern Europe sounds pretty good too.
Colombia, Brazil. And Eastern Europe is actually very good when it comes to marriages.
There's a low divorce rate too, right?
Yes, you do still have other problems. In Eastern Europe, you have a high divorce rate because the men are like either drunkards or they just leave their wives. It's the men who are filing for divorce. It's not the women. It's also the reason why you have a high divorce in like Ukraine and Russia. This is between the natives, between Russian men and women, because it could be due to alcoholism or sometimes they're not compatible with each other. It's the men who end up leaving the girlfriend. It could be for different reasons.
That's sad.
But now with American men and Eastern European women, if they're in the native country, You don't hear about divorce so much. It's just very less. It's less likely to end up in divorce.
That's
Are
good to
there
know.
some conflicts when it comes to, like, say, maybe culture, maybe some culture clash? Yeah, they may have conflicts for different reasons, but it's certainly nothing like in the States. Usually, Europeans are more mature. They're a lot more mature. They have a different attitude, and they have better ways to solve problems.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Most of the cases, men actually are willing. Men and women actually get along very, very well in Eastern Europe, in South America, Asia, and even Africa. There are some scammers. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it happens.
Oh, okay. By the way,
but you don't.
Sorry to interrupt you. I know we're getting off topic, but that's okay. But what I'm trying to ask you is, when do you plan to go to Eastern Europe and stuff like that? Like, will it be next year or the year after, or what are your plans on that?
Most likely, either at the end of this year or 2018.
Okay, and you're already starting to save up for the trip over there?
Yes.
Cool. Because after my next New York trip, I'm planning to save up for my next trip. And wherever that will be, hopefully I will have a good experience there when I go there next year. As long as I continue to work, of course. But I'll find a way to make that money to go there. I really am curious to see how the culture's like over there. How, you approach people, especially women, like how they react. And if they're very friendly, like, heck, I can even get some of these women to do some photo shoots and stuff like that, and ask them if it's okay if I could put them on my site, because a lot of people sure love to see foreign women, doing different poses and stuff like that.
Admire the beauty. The culture, and enjoy spending time there.
And enjoy eating healthy foods, being more sane. Like, you don't really have to go to a psychiatrist over there, I heard.
You don't need to go to psychologists.
If they see you're all screwed up, somebody will help you. So, you feel why don't these people leave me alone? But isn't that a good thing, that they're actually approaching you for the good reasons? And it's not for business reasons. They really do want to help you. I like to believe that there's some place out there that does that. And that's why I'm curious of going there. I haven't been there myself. But I could see how, Winston's Rules experience is like. All these pictures that he took, they don't look Photoshop whatsoever. I've seen the videos as well. So it has to be real. And
actually, you can sense the warmness.
Yep, that's true. And then the people are saying they're Photoshop. This is a scam. This is set up. Oh, this is a scam. If you go there, they're gonna kidnap you, because they love to kidnap foreigners and stuff like that. And like, yeah, you do have to be careful, but as long as you're in the right place at the right time, and you know where to stay away from, then you shouldn't let fear try to prevent you from discovering a new country that you want to go to. Just make sure that you pray to God that He's always with you the whole time, because God wants you to be happy. That's the first thing. He wants you to be happy. He wants you to depend on Him, of course. He wants you to, have faith in God that He will provide you good in this life. Because if you could trust anyone 100%, it's God and Jesus. That's what I would say. And sometimes the Christians, they say that, but then when you say, "Oh, I'm planning to go to a different country and stuff," I would actually, the best excuse for me to go there is that I'm gonna preach the Gospels, which I probably will. Who knows? Because it will be. But then again, if I go to the Philippines, obviously they already are Christians over there, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, so there's no need.
Yeah, that I can tell
anyone. Just tell them you're going there abroad for yourself. That's
for myself, all you have to do. Discover the country, that they believe in Jesus Christ, and there's a lot of good places for me to go and meet people, I guess. It's just that the whole meet people thing, they think, oh, you gotta be careful with the people. They could be out to scam you. They could be out to kill you. It's like the social thing. They don't get it that not everywhere is the same place. And it's so underrated when everything else is being promoted and everything, but the whole social scene.
You hear those Chinese women? I hear that they want to kill you in your sleep.
or in
Because
Russia, or in Russia as
because
well.
the TV show told me so. All those Russian women, those Chinese women are crazy. That they're gonna kill you. That you're a dead man. That's the negative stigma.
That sucks, man. But yeah, let's conclude this video since it's been almost an hour now. 5 minutes remaining. So what can you conclude about the dating scene in Puerto Rico? I know you haven't been there. I would like your opinions first, and then I'm gonna conclude with mine. What I'm gonna do about it. In my case, I have good friends. I wouldn't want to leave them and stuff like that. Some of them actually do understand where I'm coming from. But of course, I do notice that some of them will not understand and say, oh, that I'm the problem. So those are the type of people that maybe I need to start disconnecting with, or let them know why I'm doing this.
If certain people don't benefit you, if they don't seem to support you or support your dreams, then you need to let certain people go, because they can hold you back. Whether you want to make money independently as an entrepreneur, or if they don't benefit you in the first place, and if they don't want to talk to you on Facebook, then you're going to have to let certain people go.
Yeah, I have to delete a lot of Facebook friends. I have too many.
You're going to have to do that for yourself so you can cut out all the distractions. If they don't want to talk to you, have anything to do with you, give you the time of the day, then you're going to have to let them go.
Yeah, because I have 286. I have 286 friends on Facebook, but I'm pretty sure that only like maybe 10 or 12 people or so actually looks for me, actually wants to talk to me and all that stuff. And everyone else is like, I'm just there for if I need them or something like that, because they pretty much do the same for me, to me as well. And like a lot of the women I have here in my Facebook group in Puerto Rico as well, most of them have boyfriends. First of all, it's hard to find single women here in Puerto Rico that is, decent looking, and it's not like you need to just before the looks, like how they are inside, like how they are as a person, because some fat women will be a lot more nicer than the others. But the thing is that we are naturally not really attracted to those type of people. The chubby one. No offense, because you say anything like that, they will offend. And I apologize for any of one of you that's watching this. But I have to tell the truth how it is in a way, because that's how I really feel. I'm just not attracted to obese women, but I don't hate them either, because I'm not taught to hate. I'm a Christian, and I try to do my best to please God. And if I do something wrong, I say sorry. But we're not here to judge people by their appearance. But if you're someone that's extremely skinny or extremely obese, you need to take care of yourself and your health, because it's not healthy. It applies to Puerto Rico. It applies to America. It applies to all these first world country that eats a lot of food that makes you fat and makes you like unnatural, and then you have to take medication will create even more problems, and and all those expensive medical bills and all that stuff. But getting back to the whole dating scene, yeah, whether they have a boyfriend or they're super mega busy, or they're not, or the ones that like me from Puerto Rico, they're not really that attractive, or they're having a lot of issues in their life that's really out of my hands to try to help them, which I wanted to help them, but it's really out of my hand. So what am I left with? I'm not left with barely anything, unless I go with one of the chubby women, or I'm going with disobey. But the controversial thing is that girls, they are very picky, but at the same time we are very picky for the right reasons, but they don't see it like that.
Oh, it's okay for women to have standards, but men are not allowed to have standards.
And I have standards because I see there's better things out there.
To have standards.
It's stupid, because if I want to go to another place to find the girl for me, if God wants me to go to this place, and this girl is better for me there, because God knows what's best for me, right? So I would go to that country and meet her, because it's God's voluntary for that to happen. That could happen to anybody, but if there's a nice girl perfect for you here, then you stay here and you be with the girl, because she is a rare find, because down to earth young women that are very attractive looking in your eyes are very hard to find in this country and in Puerto Rico. And it really sucks, because you're left with no options, and you wonder why you're desperate. Is it you? You have to stop being desperate and stuff. A lot of people tell me, stop being desperate. And I try to distract myself doing other hobbies, which works after a while, but it doesn't work for the long run because it always comes back to my mind thinking, what's gonna happen? When am I gonna meet these women? And they say, don't worry about it. God will get you the right woman at the right time. I do believe that. But sometimes God wants you to do certain actions, not just wait on Him, but to do certain actions for Him to help you get to that goal. Because if you don't do anything about it, you just wait for the right moment. Sometimes it doesn't even happen. Some people never even ends up with anybody. That's what I'm afraid. That's what fears me at the most. And before I knew about this, I was like losing hope. I didn't want to talk to women anymore and stuff like that. And especially here in Puerto Rico. But you know, when I talk to Filipinos and say, why are the best women so far away from me? Do I really have to move to another country to meet the best women that I really like? Because it really sucks. That's why I was always wondering. And then they said, "Oh, this is how life is. This is how you have to be, and all that stuff. This you have this options." Because she's way out of your league, because she's too pretty for you, or she's already have a boyfriend.
And the thing is, the same women who say that, same folks who say that, are the same ones who will tell you to go with a fat girl. But yet, what if the fat girl doesn't want to talk to you?
That could happen too, because I understand there's some people that are attracted to fat girls, and that's totally fine. I mean, I'm happy I'm happy that there's people out there that will accept them. That way they're not lonely. But with men, like if they're too ugly, sadly, you know, they judge by looks and all that stuff, and they don't look good enough, then nobody's gonna want them, and they also deserve to find love. So if you cannot find it here, there has to be a place where you won't be rejected. So that's why, you know, I did this research, because I don't want to be left, you know, in the dark all this time without knowing. And now that I know, I feel a little bit better than before. But you know, I do have the desire that, you know, I really want to get the experience of dating and stuff, because I barely have that. I barely even date any girls whatsoever in my life, because I barely have they don't give me a lot of chances to do that. I'm happy to actually make this video to express myself. I know I'm gonna be judged to death by a lot of people, but you know, this is how I decide. This is what I decide. I see that there's better options out there for me, and if I want to go and look for it, I'm gonna be very careful. Of course, I'm gonna, you know, take it easy and be positive and stuff like that. That's what I say.
If you take your time, the right moment will come.
Exactly.
God has a timing for everything, and His timing is always perfect.
Amen.
And this is all I can say.
Amen.
That's all I can say. You know, God can make miracles happen as long as you have faith. You know, I know some of you don't want to hear about, you know, I know that to each his own.
Yeah, everyone is different, so I understand.
Some of you may not believe in God or whatever. I can't force you to accept Him. But what I can say is, as long as you, if you do it for yourself, I mean, I'm not going to force it down your throat, but only you can make that decision.
Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I'm not sure if PrinceAuron wanted to conclude something with what you observe about my lifestyle in Puerto Rico and stuff, based on what I tell you. What do you think about this whole thing? What do you think would be best for me and stuff like that, and be best for anybody that is in my situation right now? I mean, I'm happy with the things I do in life.
All I can say is this.
But socially, I have good friends, but you know, not having a woman is still something missing in my life. That's, you know, it's not complete without, I guess, you know, meeting the right person, I guess. And God knows that I want somebody in my life, and I know that eventually He'll give me something.
Yes, just take your time, and He will direct you on His timing.
Yep. Little by little. And that's why most of the times I try not to worry about it, because eventually that will come. Whether I make one decision or another, as long as it's within God's voluntary, everything will be fine. and you cannot let fear take over your life. That's all I have to say. And so yeah, I'm just gonna conclude it right here. So is there anything else you want to say before we end this podcast?
That's it.
Okay, cool. So thanks a lot for joining me, PrinceAuron, aka Rise of Heroes.
The Rise of Heroes.
Once I upload my version of this video, I'll be sure to promote your channel as well. Hopefully, you know, we could encounter new people here that has this problem, and we can help them as well. Because that's what the channel's all about. Denox advice people with social problems and, you know, economic problems and anything else. You know, I'm pretty open to meeting new people. I try to be open-minded little by little, and you know, I like to meet more open-minded people like PrinceAuron here, because you know, you could think outside the box and you know that there's something more than what you're being taught in this society. You still there, PrinceAuron?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. So that's all I have to say. Take care, God bless, stay cool, and until next video, bye bye.
Take care.